topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
To Triversity Talk on the eve of Thanksgiving. I bet right now you're all just getting ready to season your bird, stuff your bird, maybe even put your bird in the oven. Some people pre-cook the bird because then it doesn't take so long. And then when your guests come, you're all ready for them. Or maybe you're not even having a bird, or maybe you're flipping the bird. However, we really are so happy to have you here with us tonight. Now, it has been quite a week for everybody. I have to talk about what happened in Colorado Springs on the day of Transgender Day of Remembrance, because it has affected not only our community, but the world. This was just another example of the kinds of things that are going on with mass shootings, and particularly targeted at the LGBTQ plus community. What emerged from this is there was somebody that was there, an ex-veteran, who had the nerve to take the shooter down. And I think what I got from this, and what many people got from this, was sometimes you have to go towards the violence and not away from it. And by that, I mean, I'm nowhere near suggesting to people, put yourself in the target area. Never do that. But he showed such bravery, and he knew he would have the ability to change the situation, and he did. And I think that's something we can all learn from, because going forward, everyone really needs to be extremely mindful of what's been going on with these kinds of things in our society. They're certainly terrible. On another note, Triversity had a very beautiful Transgender Day of Remembrance. Simone Krauss, of course, always an incredible speaker. We were with this year the United Methodist Church, which I learned some things about that I didn't know, how all welcoming they are. And it's for people of all kinds of religious faith. And a shout out also to Ashley, who's our board member at Triversity, also read, and everyone in the community that came out to observe Transgender Day of Remembrance. Certainly the reading of those names brings those people to life. That they were somebody. They had a name. And when you say their name, you bring them back into the room. So thank you all. On a different note, I think what's perfect for tonight is the person I brought on. I'm very excited about. I actually met him during the pandemic, and I was in front of a bar, a landmark bar in New York City, the oldest gay bar in New York, called Julius. And I was sitting there with my friends, and he walked by, and he had an amazing partner with him, and I started talking with them, and they showed me they had this game, and they told me where I could go on Facebook and learn more about the game. The game was called Rainbow Quest, and I thought, what an interesting idea to bring people together. A Rainbow Quest, an LGBTQ oriented game that would educate, advocate, and engage people simply by raising awareness, okay, and take LGBTQ allies, everybody, and bring them together by a board game. What an incredible idea. So as I said in tonight's promotion, let the games begin, and please welcome Brian J. Kaufman. There you are.
And here I am, broadcasting live from our Rainbow Room. We've been doing, during the pandemic, also to bring community together, a live stream where we introduce the game. Sometimes people play it. We have different guests on like you do. Let me tell you, Triversity is so lucky to have you representing them, Wendy. You are a force to be reckoned with, and a beautiful one, in fact.
Gosh, well, thank you. But everybody who works with Triversity, from our acting president, Stephen Bloomer-Teague, to all the people on our board, to Simone Krause, who spoke at Transgender Day of Remembrance, it is amazing because as you know from your experience, you've worked up in Maine and in rural areas. Triversity, our organization, is really for the more rural areas in the tri-state. That's New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. We are based out of Pennsylvania. So to be able to have a center on the main street, that people can come in. We have I'm so proud of the center, and kudos to Stephen Bloomer-Teague and Richard Bloomer, who set up, they just whipped the center into shape, and we have a wonderful library. Oh my God. We have a wonderful library. And Jed Ryan is here, but something is happening with his Jed,
you hear me?
Just turn something off, turn your computer off. No, we can't really hear you, but I'm just going to talk a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, and if you need to shut your screen up, that's fine. I need to tell everybody about Jed Ryan. First of all, I love him to death. He's like kind of a drop-in guest co-host tonight. You're probably wondering, okay, why is Jed here? Because Jed has actually played the game Rainbow Quest. And he knows Brian Kaufman, and I thought it would really be fun to have him on. We're all about community and talking about the game. Now, we just hope Jed's audio and visual hold out, because he's awfully cute and nice to look at and listen to. But you know what? We can't promise that he won't freeze, but maybe, right, Brian? Maybe we'll get lucky.
Yeah, he's still nice to look at, even if he's frozen, but we can still hear him.
And Brian, that's what I love about you. You are the perfect person to have created a game.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. You could just keep saying that as you have been. Hi, I'm Jed. Can you hear me now? So, Brian.
Yes.
I want to.
We always do sign language if need be.
Right, we could do sign language. This game was 15 years in the making.
Yes, it has been. It's been an arduous journey to find factual information that it doesn't contain negative stereotypes. And of course, every time I thought I had nailed it, I had to update the language and include new emerging identities. So it took about 15 years, and we ran it through every committee. And so far, we've had no complaints, which in our community is shocking to me. It's really shocking.
Right? It's totally shocking. However, it sounds like you crossed your T's and dotted your I's. How did you know, like when you first came up with the concept of the game, how did you know where you had to keep making revisions on it? Because you're right, the language in our community keeps changing. How people see themselves keeps changing. And certainly some of things that we thought were fact that are not keeps changing. So how did you deal with that?
I did a lot of research. It took a while. I solicited input from history professors and college administrators and social workers, and of course, all of the youth group activists. Inadvertently, the game is also being used now by elder queer groups who love it and wish they had something like this to inspire, really impactful discussions when they were younger. But young kids, they see this, they squeal with delight because it's something for them that looks like it was really made for them. And
that's my background. I can't believe this. Look at that.
Yes, it does. And there's subliminal messages. Okay, so it's not grooming exactly, but there's subliminal messages on the box in spot gloss as well, like born this way, friends, heal, listen, play more, make friends, thrive.
I can't think of, listen, Brian, I can't think of more positive messages for people to have. So, okay, well, Jed was nice to look at, but we lost him, and maybe he'll be back again.
Also to continue responding to your question, I'm sorry, everything is so complicated, but I did so much play testing with this game. I brought the prototypes to so many different gay gaming groups and gay straight alliances and every kind of support group. And then I brought it to several game testing laboratories at different universities.
Wow.
So I got so much feedback. And my ultimate goal was, how do we take a topic that people don't want to talk about and make it fun, approachable, and a safe space for people? And one of the miracles of the game is that when people start to play, no matter how snarky they are about it at first, they really get into it and they love it. And it's really exceeded my expectations. I also created it to be something that would pump energy into existing support groups, because there was always a lack of meaningful programming. Do you show a movie and people don't interact? If you do a lecture and not really touch upon people's lives. So the game touches on milestones of the queer community as well as personal milestones of the players. And I just built every possible kind of safety catch to make it a really fun, compelling game. And
so I know
well.
I think Jed told me Mondays you've been playing the game at Julius Bar.
Yes.
So do you have a fun group that comes every Monday to do that? I do. If I can get a Monday, I actually wrote it down in my appointment book. I would love to come down and play.
I have one person who's attended several, but usually it's just people that are curious and want to try it. Some people, are a little bit hostile because they're not accustomed to doing something like this at Julius. But no, people play and love it. The staff kind of marvels at how much fun people are having, and it's wholesome. I mean, it's really.
I got to tell you, Brian, not only is it wholesome, I think what really is amazing to me about it, you have found a way to not only get people in our community to interact. If they're using this at GSAs, it's everybody. Okay. You put such a positive spin on things with this game, and it's bringing people together in a way. I can't, I grew up with Monopoly, probably you did too, those kind of games.
Sure.
But there's nothing else out there, and this is intriguing to me, that exists that is like Rainbow Quest.
No, there is not. I have someone at the University of Lynchburg who's doing research to validate the psychosocial impact of the game. Ultimately,
impact, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I ran support groups in urban and rural areas at all ages for 30 years. And, back in 1986, when I tested positive officially for HIV, I was told I had 6 months to live, maybe a year if I was lucky.
That's what they were telling people back then.
Yeah. And my goal had always been to pay it forward for the poor souls who worked at the New York City gay hotline in the 1970s when I was coming out, and I called them every day with so many kind of stupid questions, but they gave me so much help. So, it's a miracle to me that I've lived this long, but I knew that I couldn't keep doing the support groups forever. I couldn't keep doing one-on-one suicide. I keep saying suicide prevention.
No, you're talking about things, support groups, suicide prevention lines, and all of that. Those, as we know, are things that are very much needed. But the amount of time I got to tell you, it would suck the life's blood out of me after a while. It does that to people. So the fact that not only did you do it, you survived it, and then at the end game of it, you come out with this amazing, happy game to bring everyone together. Kudos to you.
Thank you. I mean, my background is industrial psychology, efficiency. So I integrated, ideas of peak performance, interpersonal relations, group dynamics, emerging leadership, social and emotional learning by default. I automatically put in the game.
Right.
And I just drew upon everything I knew, to even these subliminal messages. I did want to cross every T and dot every I,
right,
so that there would be no reason that people wouldn't enjoy this experience and learn from it. So originally, I did create it to keep support groups going, because support groups help prevent suicide.
Absolutely.
But I would like a game that would reach people before they ever contemplate suicide, and just make it not such a queer experience to have like 3 times the rate of suicide of the straight population at the youth level and the elder level. So I joke sometimes now that I turned 65 and I collect Social Security, I joke and say, yeah, I say this is really selfish.
Congratulations for that.
People,
yeah, really.
well, thank you. Who knew I would ever live this long? It's crazy, but I'm doing it, and it's just very interesting the way people respond to the game. Let's see. I'll say this: the research is doing a study to prove that this reduces suicidal ideations after just playing one time. And in doing the research, they were trying to find a control group activity. They could not find a similar game to this.
No.
They just couldn't. There isn't any. There's also no other resource for the LGBTQ plus inclusive curriculum that is now recommended by legislatures in 9 states. There's nothing. Teachers are expected to take a list of topics and create lesson plans about it like they have time or the interest or the courage.
Brian, as an educator, a lesson plan, how is that going to communicate anything at all? What you've come up with is something where the kids can actually work with each other. All right. And have you've created an actual experience, which is probably the best education anyone can have.
Well, I really hope you can make it to Julius some Monday evening and play the game, because you're a trip. You would just be so much fun. Actually, is it okay if I ask you a question from the game?
Yeah, you can not only ask me, you can ask me anything. I love when the guest turns it on the interviewer. And don't forget, we have Jed Ryan here, and he has both video and visual now. Oh my!
Well, I will ask both of you a question from the game. This is the 5-pound deck of prompt cards, and I'm going to ask you questions from the category called "Just Between Us."
Okay.
Which is an opportunity to just share personal anecdotes.
Okay.
So
I'm ready.
Okay. Ooh.
I'm listening.
All right. Okay, Wendy.
Yes.
Did you ever vote for a candidate based on their looks?
No, absolutely not.
Good answer. I was hoping you'd say that.
I'm all about content.
Okay. Now here's one. Again, both of you go to Julius quite often. And I'm so glad that I met both of you during the pandemic when I went there to try and make sure that they would stay solvent. They were doing outdoor dining, and
we were so worried that it was close, and it was close. There was a posting on Facebook that they were really teetering on the edge, and now they may become a landmark. You probably read that, the latest thing.
Yes,
that would be amazing.
I hate to say it. I mean, I hate to
well
say it.
Well deserved.
Stonewall is watching. People seem to go to Stonewall in an obligatory way to pay homage to it, but then they come to Julius and really have a good time. I think that's all I can say about it.
Well, so, you know what? I think now, honestly, both places, that's become like a location unto itself. You hit Stonewall, you hit Julius, and what both places offer, slightly different, okay? But it is about bringing people together, which at the end of the day, as we are realizing as a society, we really need to do this now. The polarization that has happened in the last, I shall just say the last couple of years, is unacceptable. All right. The hate actions, hate speech that are existing right now. We're here broadcasting, and you all know what I'm talking about. The hate speech that's going on right now has got to be stopped. And how do you push back? You push back as a community coming together.
Okay. I have a question for Jed here. Okay. And then I want to go back to the safe space concept, because we have
more questions. Hold on, Brian. After Jed, I'm really into this now. Go do Jed, and then you can ask me another one.
Okay. Jed, if you could spend some time with one famous LGBTQ plus individual, alive or dead, who would you choose?
Oh, wow. That would have to be probably because it's hard for us to imagine in this day and age that lots of times just being who you were was really dangerous. And the fact that he must have been doing something right, not just through his literature, but the fact that he steadfastly remained himself and he refused to back down. And a time when it was not safe, it certainly wasn't fashionable, but it wasn't always safe. So I would like to know back in that era what it was like, because he surrounded himself with so many of his fellow colorful and creative people, what it was like to be in that very exclusive yet also very protected bubble. And it could not have been easy, but it must have felt really wonderful knowing that you were doing the right thing no matter what society said. And it was only a matter of time before society had to catch up. So I would love those conversations. And it's good to talk to smart people. And he was a smart guy. So I'm sure that he would have been very fun to talk to. So it would have to be him. Although it's very hard to pick.
Did Oscar Wilde actually frequent Julius?
Oh,
wait.
I thought I read that somewhere.
Well, the series, The Gilded Age, which is very popular amongst many in our community, takes place in New York in the 1800s. And there has been implications that Oscar Wilde may eventually make an appearance on that show in one way or another. So clearly he was in America. He was in New York. So I don't doubt it. I mean, there's no pictures of him on the wall that I know of.
Well, in my mind, I've been
nobody snapped a photo of him,
seeing the image of you and Oscar having your drinks together and maybe a burger at Julius.
Wait, a Julius burger, right? Because there's
I mean, how do you go to Julius and not have one of their?
Where's my time machine? I think it's a great idea.
Right, the time machine. That is a great idea.
Okay, now every week,
speaking of going back in time. Speaking of going back in time, I wanted the chance to say that I've known, not too far, not Oscar Wilde time, but I was boggling my mind as to where Brian and I first met, and I assume it had to be circa 2006. So I was trying to do my research and find out, what was going on during, about right. What was going on during that time period? And Wendy, you'd be happy to know that everybody was listening to Hips Don't Lie by Shakira. The song
I just did that song in industry. That's good. I picked a good one.
Yes, you did. And Brian and I met at an event called, we met at an event called Barapalooza.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God. And that's so funny because I forgot. And I thought we met when I ended up marching with you in New York City Gay Pride. Yeah, that's right. I did meet you in Barapalooza. Wow.
Brian, you also wrote down on your bio, you wrote about Barapalooza, and on the things I wanted to ask you, I wrote down here, what is Barapalooza? So Jen and Brian, could you elaborate on what that is?
Yes. Well, before the term bear entered the lexicon en masse, and all of a sudden it's everywhere. And before it was really in to take back your body hair, to release the fleece, and to be proud of being a bigger guy. I mean, bears are just gay guys who are not afraid to eat when it comes down to it. That's who are not afraid of their excessive body hair. So back then, there was a gentleman named Freddie Freeman who organized a musical event called Barapalooza with all bear-identified artists and their allies. And that would definitely include Martin Swinger, Brian's husband. And that's how we met. And he really not only identified as a bear, but he created music that's patently for the bear community that bears enjoy. And
I was just wanting to see if I could find a copy of it, but I don't have it handy. I didn't know
it's somewhere.
You brought up something, Brian. I would like to talk about. I want to talk about, of course, Martin Swinger, your husband, who passed away a year ago. It was a year.
About a year, yes.
Totally shocking to me when Jed told me that. I remember the two of you talking to both of you in the street. And I know this Rainbow Quest was a baby that you birthed together. And,
yes.
my God, what a year, right? What a year.
It's been surreal. I mean,
right.
he used to travel so much as a performer, and the fact that he passed away out of town, just in very weird circumstances, everything about his passing turned out to be very surreal. And so I spent the year just fulfilling our commitments that we had made before during the pandemic, when everything got canceled. Everything suddenly exploded, and I've kind of been on the road. I mean, he passed away right after we had a corporate sponsor at New York City Pride. Before they did the official parade, they had pop-up events, and we had a pop-up right by Marie's Crisis. And anyway, I think he worked so hard. He was really riding the top of his career as a arts educator, singer, songwriter, vocal coach, coordinating events at the New England Regional Folk Alliance and the People's Music Network.
Wow.
He went out on a high. He didn't suffer, bless his heart. I miss him terribly, but I tried to keep alive his legacy, which includes Rainbow Quest and his music. And I do want to share, if you'll forgive me, years ago, we hosted a 3-day training for people across Maine to help them speak to superintendents and school board members about why we needed to address homosexuality in classrooms and protect kids. And we wrote a song for GLSEN, the Gay Lesbian Straight Education Network, called All We Need Is a Safe Place. I did write a verse for this past week's massacre, because thoughts and prayers are great, but I think we need supplements like legislation and music. Music can change things.
I believe
so. If you forgive me, I will take a sip of tea from my Rainbow Quest brand mug.
What's in that tea, Brian? Is it just tea?
It's really just tea.
Okay.
Although I probably have been more comfortable by put something else in it. Okay. There we go. When people go to dance and mingle, they should not expect assault by guns, bats, fire, leaving neighborhoods bereft. Old hatreds fueled by politicians, rhetorics to blame. They say gay when campaigning, but muzzle teachers all the same. And all we need is a safe place to learn, to grow, to love, to know a safe place. So I just wanted to share that. It's important to reach people on every level. And the arts, the arts is one way to reach people in ways that sometimes words just don't.
Right.
And part of our mission is, apart from the Rainbow Quest game, part of our stated mission is to introduce arts educators and singer-songwriters into schools to help them write their own songs about diversity and diversity education. It's such a great way to help them learn.
I think it's an incredible way. So I'm going to give you the other side of the coin, right?
Ooh.
So let's talk about school boards, which
okay.
I never really dealt with that. My kid's 30, and the school in the city, we didn't have an issue. School boards have become, you brought the rat out for that.
Sorry. Some of them are good, but so many are so terrifying.
How did, first of all, school boards become so powerful? I can tell you, our organization, Triversity, is based out of Milford, Pennsylvania. If I told you some of the things that were said at the school board meetings, which you can watch on YouTube, how about that? It would really make a great documentary if someone took and cut all of these together. You watch them, and the things that are said would make your hair stand on end.
It's like a celebration of ignorance.
It's a celebration of ignorance, and sometimes it's not only ignorance, the remarks are hateful and bullying.
Totally.
And bullying. How did this happen, and how do we take some of this power away from them? I don't know how it happened.
All right. Unfortunately, progressive people are motivated by hope, love, kumbaya, and a better world for everyone, which is our motto for Rainbow Quest, towards a better world for everyone.
Right.
We typically don't go low. And yet the people who are fighting to preserve their way of life so that their fragility isn't challenged whether
Right.
it be white fragility or straight fragility, whatever kind of fragility. They do whatever they can. So for years now, I'm beginning with the Tea Party movement.
Oh my God.
Our
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I've been running around telling people that. And when it was happening, everyone's like, what are you so upset about Sarah Palin? She's a joke. I'm like, no, she's not. This is going to be changing everything. And it did.
You
Go
betcha.
on. Please speak. Go on.
Well, so the strategy back then of the Tea Party was infiltrate every local thing you can, take them over. Now, progressives looked at regular elections. They wouldn't. I mean, who would think? We never even. People tend to think that other people think the way they do.
Oh,
So
yes.
progressives don't imagine how motivated people are to suppress and erase what they don't like and to preserve their own privilege. So they've infiltrated every school board. I don't want to say, we want parents to be involved,
Of course.
but the most outspoken opponents to sex and gender education at all are the ones now who are making a lot of decisions. I'm very proud of many school boards who have stood up to challenges about banned books and things like that. But I'm also horrified at so many school districts that are fine with erasing their queer students and community members.
Right. Completely. But what I'm not understanding is, why are we letting them have that power? Understand that they have had teachers quit because of them, or made it so miserable for them, or students leave, to go elsewhere. That's like way too much power. Or we're not talking like a PTA now. Okay, we're talking about people wielding power in a really terrible way. How do you stop it?
Well, we do what they do. We get more involved, and people are. This year, our election results were amazing. We had so many queer candidates who did win their election to the offices they ran for, and people have learned to start doing it at all levels. So we have much more representation, legal and authoritative representation now. And I was laughing when you said that about teachers quitting, because I ended up leaving my career as a psychology professor, where for the first 15 years of my time in Maine, I was applauded and celebrated and congratulated for all of the statewide community building, life-saving work I did. But when my progressive colleagues died and retired, the remaining colleagues were much more conservative, and they believed I enjoyed gay privilege. They did everything they could behind my back to undermine me and discredit me. And I didn't know any of this was happening, because they were like, to my face, they were like, we love you. And kind of like my in-laws.
Up until you were for 15 years, and then it happened. It wasn't going on all along.
No, it happened. It started happening slowly as colleagues were replaced by by Reaganites, people who came of age during the Reagan years.
Right.
And, I was a 70s kid, kind of.
Right.
And so anyway, they believed I had gay privilege. They did everything they could to undermine me and behind my back. And when I found out about it, they stooped really low. They did some things that, I probably could have taken them to, civil court over, but I filed a grievance with my union. I very easily won, because I had such a paper trail. Everything they said that I did wrong, I had a paper trail to prove. No, I had nothing to do with what you're talking about. So anyway, I got to leave higher education and focus full time on finishing this board game, because to me it's urgent. I want this game out there. I want lives to be saved and uplifted. The game was developed to create authentic pride, and it's hard to be proud when you think that the people like yourselves, when every election cycle you hear that we're groomers and pedophiles. And believe me, if you saw my makeup for my last night's show, you would know that no drag queen groomed me. I wish. I mean, it was awful.
Help in the makeup department. That's what I'm hearing from you.
So we figured authentic pride comes from knowing who your people are. And if you don't learn about them, how do you know that? They're like, oh, pedophiles, child molesters, I'm going to kill myself because that's what gay people do. So the game includes the heroes that people can look up to, like Sally Ride. In the next version, we'll have Louisa May Alcott. You know, who knew she was like trans?
Right.
And I thought that was amazing to find. And yeah, no one knew Sally Ride was
that either. But you know what? You probably know more than anyone. When you started coming up with the questions for this game and uncovering history, there were more people than any of us realized.
Well, what we've been doing, what we did at New York City Gay Pride this year, and by the way, we're so lucky we were in the formation area. I finally got to catch up with the new DEI person for the New York City Department of Education, who found the lost purchase order. So I was able to deliver 250 Rainbow Quest games to the New York City Department of Education.
Okay,
so they're being used now.
The miracle is about that. You just talked about a miracle. They found the lost purchase order. Oh my God.
It was, it got lost in the pandemic. We had these, these boxes ready on the loading dock. I just couldn't wait to deliver them. And so, I'm glad that they're using that. Forgot where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, we were talking about the New York City school system using the game. We had someone in our comments for our LGBTQ center in Milford, Mary, and I told her just to email me in the comments, wants to know how we can get a game. I love the idea of doing this. Now, in terms of distribution of Rainbow Quest, do you have any kind of thing set up where you can approach different schools? How do you mainstream this in the schools? Because it's a brilliant educational tool. That's where I'm coming from with it. So how do you get
Wendy, I like where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yes.
It's not only educational. It's not only educational, but it's fun. It's educational, inspiring, and fun. That's what because I'm a firm believer we all need to look towards the future because, looking back at the past is for remembering, but we also learn so much from it. And, all the answers are really there. So my personal philosophy has always been look towards the future, but don't forget the past and try to learn from the mistakes because sadly, most of us have short memories. If you look throughout American history, it's the same thing. And a lot of people could have predicted that, okay, this is not just we've won our rights and now we can just sit back and enjoy them. It's always going to be a struggle and it's always going to be in a cyclical motion.
Right.
And Brian, I just have to say that, yes, exactly. And I have to say that it's interesting, the whole concept of gay privilege. And now with what happened in Colorado, my feeling about that is, okay, so many people that don't know what they're talking about say, okay, well, kids can turn gay from watching certain shows or seeing certain things on the internet or having certain items taught in the classroom, that's going to turn them gay. But no conception of how what they say, the harmful things that they say, lead to events like what just happened in Colorado and lead to so much violence. It's like you can't have it both ways, because words matter and it goes in both directions. And trying to keep kids from harm, like you said, taking care of them and letting them find their true authentic self. But when you say stuff like this to our most vulnerable populations, then you're really asking for what happened. You're asking for violence. So,
which is, it brings me back then to what I said to Brian, if there is a setup where schools come up with curriculums, right? Let's just talk about the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. They have school curriculums. How do you mainstream Rainbow Quest, okay, as part of the learning experience for the kids, where it's part of the curriculum that's taught? Because based on what Jed just said, that's what I think needs to happen, because we're the other side of the coin. All right, we've got places like Florida with Ron DeSantis who said, don't say gay. Those poor children, okay, that are there that heard that, all right? And the kids that heard that may have come from homes where they heard even worse, and now they're being told gay is horrible. And then you fast forward to your point, Jed, what happened in Colorado Springs. I didn't get to read the whole bio on that guy, and it's not even out yet. But I can tell you something, the kind of political environment that we are in right now is going to breed more of this. And I think it's up to people who consider themselves activists to stop it.
And Wendy,
yes,
what Jen said about words having power.
Yes.
Is it a coincidence that these two club massacres occurred in the two states that have been so at the forefront of suppressing and erasing queer people? Colorado, what was long ago, had their first big statewide efforts to eliminate queer people from any kind of protection, and Florida. I mean, and we have the Pulse nightclub and Club Q, and it's just, I think it says a lot, Jen. Yes, you hear this hateful rhetoric, and it makes people think. It reminds me of in the 90s. In the 80s and 90s, there were judges in Texas when they were, reviewing sentencing for hooligans that would target gay people and beat them with baseball bats because they were easy targets. If people were killed, the judge would give a very light sentence because they said, well, it was just a homosexual. It's not a real person. And this kind of rhetoric, I mean, even from judges, it's, it breeds hate. I'm all about, there are things I dislike, but I'm all about positivity and love and celebrating the miracle of life, the miracle that when we are alive, we can communicate with one another. I actually have had experience in the past year where my dear departed, Martin Swinger,
yes.
He has definitely been along for this ride with me.
You know what? Without a doubt, he was an arts educator and a performer, and the other half of Rainbow Quest. And first of all, the fact that you didn't have a choice, you did keep going. But my God, I mean, everything happened so quick, and then right. But you know what? What did they say? Keep your eye on the prize, and you did. All right, because that's what Martin would have wanted.
Well, I have nothing left to do with my life now. I never expected to live this long, and I certainly never expected to outlive my healthy partner. So,
I know, right?
It's like, what do I have left to do? I might as well just make sure that, this does get into every school. So the next phase, now that I'm back in my home base and not traveling to the New York Library Association and Atlanta Pride and places like that, I'm going to find some sales representatives, and I'm going to sign up for this great online service that will let me develop contact lists for the decision makers in the largest school districts in the country, that especially the ones that have legislated the inclusive curriculum. And from there, we're also being featured in the Georgia Voice gift guide this season. They're the largest print newspaper and online media for the Southeast region. I think pretty soon we are gonna mainstream. We're not yet, but I think I don't doubt that we will.
Oh no, this is where I was going. This is a 5-year plan, and I absolutely love it. I think it's great that it's played at Julius, and I think it's great GSAs are using it. But I'm thinking of the various schools in the tri-state area, especially in rural areas, where this would be. It's such a wonderful and educational tool for the kids. It really is. And I love it. Activism. You came up, you said it. You're about rainbows, light, kumbaya. I'm about rainbows and light. I'm not kumbaya at all. Okay. I'm not. And Jed knows that. I just the thing about Colorado, I'm still raging over. Okay. The thing I took away from that was the guy that rushed the gunman. And in our own way, every one of us has to figure out how we rush the gunman. And I'm saying it metaphorically, whether it be a game like Rainbow Quest or, whether it be a campaign that you contribute to or a candidate that you get behind that is going to push forward a positive agenda. We all have something that we can do.
Or run for office.
Thank you. There you go.
Join your school board.
Right. Join your school board or run for office.
If you have money, spread it around. We are a struggling nonprofit. We lost our corporate sponsor because the founder of the company wasn't actually out. Oops. So, we are. So, we are supposed to have a fundraiser happening in Miami during Art Basel, but the form that I needed to have processed by the Florida Treasury, maybe they're just not doing it because Rainbow Quest, but they're waiting for that tax form. So anyway, we told, if you have money, donate it to candidates. Lavish money on your LGBTQ plus organizations. Support Rainbow Quest. Tax deduction.
But there's all things that many of us can be doing. So I was going to tell you, we're down to like the last 3 minutes. My God, what do they say? Time flies when you're having fun. And in the last 3 minutes, you can talk about anything that you want. But before you do that, I want to tell everybody, this is the best background, the one that Brian Kaufman has that I have ever seen on any podcast anywhere. Yeah, that is a work of art. It's like interviewing somebody on the set of a Broadway show. Okay, I said my piece. The rest is up to you. You go for it.
Well, that is very kind of you.
I want to move wherever you are.
Jim wants to move with you, is what he's saying. I'm actually taking a picture of it.
Yes,
too.
I want to.
Okay. Well, I can send you a JPEG. We have a background that we could use. No,
I like you on the show, like with the background and everything. I think that is very cool.
we learned a bit from Linda Simpson doing her online Zoom bingo.
I love Linda Simpson, right?
Shelley Watson and Zoe Lewis. They gave us the inspiration. We did, I think, something like 64 consecutive shows every week during the pandemic. And then we took a break, and then Martin Swinger died. And I started back up again with someone I met who kind of has the spirit of Martin. And we're trying to keep it going just because a lot of the people that have formed a community in the virtual green room, they have formed friendships and they have learned a lot. A lot of them are allies. I'm talking fast because we're out of time, right?
Well, no, I just want you to get in all your points. Absolutely. Because you're my guest and time is of essence with you. Where can people find out more about you?
Wow, more about me. Certainly my Facebook page, Brian J. Kaufman. Mm-hmm. It's public. I have nothing to hide. I figure all of my digital stuff is out there anyway, whatever. Then, of course, you could follow Rainbow Quest on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. Learn a lot about us. Our website is a treasury of information, and our merchandise store. You can make donations on it. We have a ton of merchandise so that GSA advisors and counselors can go on our site and order stuff to show that they're allies, like coffee mugs and mouse pads and whatever.
What is your website, Brian? Tell us your website.
www.rainbowquest.org.
Okay, and I'm going to put it in
www.rainbowquest.org.
You're so used to
check it out. You'll be glad you did.
Chad, thank you for. Oh, here it is. Thank you, Juan. Juan's terrific. He just put it up there for everybody. Jed, thank you, of course, for being here tonight. I think you're on your phone now. I told you I'd take you any way I could get you.
Oh, by the way, I did this too. I've been dieting in preparation for the holidays.
Okay, let's see what's going on there, Brian. How are we doing?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So look at that. But it's really just a shirt. So I really have been dieting, but this is just a shirt.
Well, we're just about done. Everybody look at me, say cheese, cheese. I always like to take.
Cheese.
Yeah, I want to thank you both, Brian. We will, of course, be in touch. Jed, I see and talk to you all the time. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight on Triversity Talk. Wishing you all a wonderful Thanksgiving and see you all next week. Thank you.